Good day and welcome to Lifestyle League, and my name is Mpho Joseph, and I'm sitting with Mpho Molepo. How are you, my brother?
I'm great.
I'm excited to be sitting with you.
Me too.
Finally,
Finally, yeah.
you've been running away.
No, I haven't been.
You've been running away. We did lectures for SIGA for
Yes.
about 2 years, and you were
Yeah, and
told
I've been
about it.
invited, twice or thrice, and I said I'll come, and I always wait for the right time. This is the right time.
This is the right end.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because, I always say to young people, you get inspired when you watch legends speak. And that's the reason why we've always called you to come on our platforms. And finally, we got you. And this one is a chilled platform.
Sure. No, let's do it. Did you say I'm a legend?
Yes. I just crowned you a legend officially because I can see they're ducking and diving. Because when they look at your history and they look at your CV, they will understand why I give you so much respect.
I receive.
I receive. Yeah, no, you better receive.
Yeah. So
Who's Mpho Molepo?
Mpho Molepo. Is it one of those? So I was born and bred, and then I grew up in
Up to you.
Okay.
Do it anyhow.
any other house.
Yes. Remember that we want people to know who Mpho Molepo is.
Yeah.
Why is Mpho Molepo chilling with Arthur, and
Sure.
why is Arthur giving him so much credit?
So I was born in Soweto, actually, Orlando. My dad was a policeman, Mr. Molepo. And later, my family originates from Molepo. In Limpopo, we have the Kha. At least I come from a village which
Yeah,
is...
but you shouldn't say in Limpopo. There's Kwa.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yes. And there's in Northwest, there's Kha.
Yebo.
Yes.
Yeah, so at least I come from a village called Molepo, and I'm Molepo myself. And moved to Molepo and then back to Gauteng and lived my life in Alex and went to school in Pretoria. Yeah, so I've been a moving kind of a child.
And then how do you get to a point where you say, I want to just be an actor? I want to go do theater. I want to go do drama. I want to, tell stories.
I want to tell you the truth, ne? So it wasn't my choice. So when I was in middle school, I was doing, I think, at that time in Buputatswana, I was doing Standard 7.
Oh, so you also lived in Buputatswana?
Yes,
Eh, wait,
Northwest.
You're around Leopold.
Yeah, no,
Where in Buputatswana?
in Winterfell, 10 Morgan, then Buputatswana. So a teacher, an English teacher called Mr. Gauteng, who was part of, he's a member of the Kiro, the Roman Catholic Church, and he was the youth leader of the Kiro youth movement during that time, like during apartheid. So I was part of the debating team at school. He told me that I must come and join the youth club because he said I am an actor. He told me. And I joined the Kiro. And I think something interesting about Kiro is that during apartheid, as young people, we had an opportunity to can say whatever we wanted to say because we were protected under the Roman Catholic Church.
And it's so funny that you are talking about joining the youth club at a church. Most of the people don't know that for me to be who I am, I won a dance competition in church, youth club, same story.
Serious?
In fact, I think it's my first time even saying it in public. I'm sure my kids know that story, but I actually won a dance competition. I became Michael Jackson of the church.
Great.
Exactly, and I was doing a Michael Jackson
And
song.
from there, then the career. Yes, and exactly that's what happened because I joined the group and we then had interactions with other Kiro youth clubs from other Roman Catholic Church. And we started competing on an annual basis and we go to the annual camps and we traveled around. And I think that's where the career was born.
There
in
was a
actual fact.
book called Katika Sema.
From
not
Roman.
Roman,
No,
right?
I'm not Roman.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the good thing
I
about...
wanted to catch you.
No,
I knew
that's...
you were going to convince.
No.
If I don't know that book, then...
No,
Okay,
I'm
but
not,
you
I'm
were
not
doing
Roman.
bubbles.
No, we were
Bible
not.
studies.
You
Also,
could,
they just recruited.
you can join the Kiro Youth Club at that time and become just a member of Kiro.
Yes.
And participate only at Kiro. And that's, you didn't have to become an altar boy. You didn't have to go through all the processes.
I've been an altar boy. I've sat there when the pastor has been preaching, and I've been an altar
I
boy.
think-
I had all those robes.
Yeah.
I think they were fawnish.
Yeah.
I've been an altar boy, and you're right. Yeah, we do the yes. I've been there, and I think what they were doing was good. Actually, taking the youth out of the streets.
Yeah, I think the church at that time had such a big role that it played in a society. But also, I think the church understood its position against apartheid. I mean, to a level that we were protected. We were able to do political songs and political productions, but we were protected by the church. And I think for me, that's what actually started nurturing Mpho as a person, because I could say whatever, and I had so much interest in other things,
How old
including
are you
politics.
then?
Sure.
Because we were very young when we went into
14, somewhere there.
I can believe.
Yeah, 13, 14, I think. Yeah, 14.
And
And then from Kiro, then I came back to Alex. My family always my mom stayed in Alex most of her life. And I came back to Alex, and then I joined a group called Squint Artist, which was led by a guy called Peter Habe. And I think that's where my career got really best nurtured, because Peter actually made me the director of the group. I joined within a year. He said, no, you'll start directing.
it's not Peter Spooman.
No, Peter Lehabe.
Okay.
Yeah. Peter Lehabe produced me, Harriet Manamela, and Opa Manamela. I think both of them are in Scheme Sub now. But there's quite a number of people that we really came from his group in LX. And later, after Squints Artist, we then established our own company, which was a joint company between Squints Artist and a group called Voices from Within, which was run by a lady called Nsieng, which later became the LX Theatre Company.
So what do you do by then? Do you call it drama? You call it sketch? What do you call it? Theater?
We call it community theatre at that time. Yeah, because we were doing what we call a theatre company that is looking at issues that are affecting the community, and we used to create drama or performances around those issues. I mean, one of the interesting things that has happened to us is those years ago, when we were the LX Theatre, the LX Theatre organization, we worked with LX Health Clinic at the time under Mr. William Lekolwane.
Doing industrial theaters and
We didn't know.
they were called, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't know it's industrial theatre. But he gave us a script called The Hydra, which was about HIV and AIDS by then. And they took us to train as AIDS ambassadors, and we learned about HIV. We did that piece, and we got some money, first money you receive as young people, 18, 19, around that time. And then we decided so my family had a big yacht at 7th Avenue in Alex. We decided to build a 2-room house, and everybody else left their houses, and we started staying together as a team of 13 young people in the township.
And then you start touring.
No. So we performed the piece. We stayed together for over 4 years as just 12 of us, as young
So
people.
where are you performing then?
We're performing in the township, but we're doing also
Or
other
they
projects.
come, they collect you in a car, and then you travel?
We at that time, something very good about being in a community, and I think as young people, we were supported by Alexandra Taxi Association. We never paid for transport. We never paid even for food. We got food parcels every Thursday from Ndateli Ndatwala, from the township Putadichaba Association. So we lived our lives like that for almost 12 years as young people together.
Is it pre or post apartheid?
It's post, so that's just after 1991. Yeah, all those years coming this way. Yeah, we lived together as those kind of young people, and I mean, we became known in the township. Ke ba le 12 ba di khafi ba o phela ba rele di drum ba ya senkopano ba pere di tracksuit every morning ramata. We have a daily program, we have daily classes, we teaching each other, and I think sometime within that 12 years, we got tired. not even tired per se, but we realized we need skills. And we developed a concept called Bring Resources Home. We worked it, that concept, we actually developed it with Peter Lehabe. You know, I think, you know, issues of copyrights are important.
Yeah.
That, I must mention that he was there. And so Bring Resources Home was a concept where we felt we need to move out of Alex, all of us, go find skills and resources, and then we'll come back one day and make the township better.
And then do you go get education
We,
or you just
most of
go
us
for-
went to get education. So I went to Market Theatre Lab, ended at Vets. Nomvula Mguni went to the market. She's now the head, she's the production manager now at the market.
Wow.
Mpho went to JDF for dance and ended up in Cape Town. Quite a lot of us went into different spaces of skills.
Most of you continue.
Most of us continued, yeah. I mean, Harriet and Opa are still with Skim Sam even now as key actors there. Yeah, so all of us, we really went out and we said one day we'll come back to the township. And until I decided 6 years ago to call everybody and say, I think it's time we go back.
So when you are at the Market Theatre Lab, what do you study? You study drama?
We study theater. I mean, there's theater, there's dance, there's music.
Could you dance when I can?
No. But there was something interesting about the teacher who taught dance. You know, teaching dance to non-dancers.
Yes.
Concept.
And it's so
and
beautiful.
yeah, and they will try and involve you, even if you can't dance, in a piece of dance. You might be moving around like a mad person, whatever that it be. But I participated in every class. I could sing, I could act. Dancing, movement, I always thought is not my thing.
And which year is that?
Sure. 95, 96.
Okay. The reason I'm going through all these phases, I'm trying to get to a point where you end up coming back to give back to the community. But I have to start, you know, the journey and show people.
So there's a gap there.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the gap I want us to go into.
So I
Do you
end up
go into TV? Do you go into big screens? What do you do then?
Yeah, so I end up at Vets, did the honors at Vets, and then thereafter went into the industry. Never came back to Alex. Went into the industry. My first formal work was working for Market Theatre Laboratory as a field worker. Then I could be sent out to various provinces to go and work with groups and young people who wanted to become actors. And I think I did that for years, for quite a long time. Or something interesting I forgot. I also worked at the theater as an usher.
I worked at the Market Theatre as a waiter.
Okay, I worked there.
You know,
as
when
an
there
usher.
was that play, the John Kani play, I think Black and White Follies or something.
Yeah?
Yeah, but I couldn't work. I was just stunned by, I mean,
All these people you
yeah,
see.
you know, I'm watching John Kani and, you know, my dream is to be in the arts. But him, I am a waiter, you know, and because I just wanted to have money.
Yeah.
You know, I think there was a theater, you know, there's the main theater across.
Yes.
There was a theater, I can't remember, something theater. But
Yeah,
it closed
now it's
after
called,
a while.
oh yeah,
Yes,
back of the
Phil-
warehouse.
yes.
Back of the warehouse.
that's where I worked.
Yeah. So I worked in the Market Theatre for years, man, as an usher, which was the most interesting part. You know, is that one where when everybody arrives, welcome to the Market Theatre.
Yeah.
May I see your ticket? Can I take you to your seat?
Yeah.
Please just make sure that your phone is off. Enjoy the show. Would you like to buy a program? I did that for years, and I enjoyed it because I watched quite a lot of shows as a young person. Also exposed to quite a lot of forms of how people create theater, but also met a lot of great names. I met Denzel, I met Peter Brook, I met Mandela, I met quite a lot of people. As
When you are meeting Denzel, what do you say to him? Do you
Nothing.
say the very same usual thing?
At
Do you
that
want
person,
to buy a program?
At that person, you are a student and he's coming to visit the market, he's having a lecture, you're watching at him at the distance, but at least you have an access, you could ask a question if you are brave enough at that time.
Did you take pictures?
No.
Ah.
He was at the distance, but he was there. But we're in the same room.
And you also watched Mandela.
Yes.
Was he coming for Sarafina?
He was coming to see If it was not Lion and the Jewel of John, yeah. But he was coming to see one of John's shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then after being in Usher, what?
After being an usher, then I started being an actor. Then I graduated Market Lab, Vets graduated, then I became an actor. Then we did our first production called Gomorrah, which we were lucky enough.
The Gomorrah, the TV one? Or?
No, Gomorrah, the production, the theater show,
Okay.
which was about a young person growing up in Alexandra Township. And we did it with Pule Kajwayo, who was directing it, acted with Mletisi Shabangu, who were part of the artistic.
Is Pule the dreadlock guy?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
Such a great guy.
Yeah, he directed the piece. And we were lucky at that age. I mean, as young people, 95 and 96, we were then able to tour. We did a tour of Sweden. The show lived quite long. We did Grahamstown. It was quite a big show. And that's what introduced us into the theater landscape as new crop of actors, but also new creatives, young people, because our style was totally different from a lot of people. It was more like physical kind of theater, abstract in a way, but with a lot of narrative in between.
You sound like a guy that's more into theater than any other thing, TV, film, big screens. You just love theater.
I'm a theater product, and I always felt my life is in theater. And I mean, currently I'm writing a new play now. I'm done with it. And lucky enough, Soweto Theatre is willing to put it up. So I might direct it in the coming few months. I'm a theater guy. I'm not
So
a television
you're not
person.
into your TVs and stuff? And
No, I'm not. I think what I would like to study about television, I think, is directing more than anything else. I don't think
So the comparison between theater and TV for you?
theater is live. Television, it's technical.
Television is technical,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and to a certain level that sometimes I don't think actors really get enough chance to be able to
Express.
express even emotions through characters that they play on television, because it's from cut to cut, you know. So you have to be really a refined actor to be able to handle television.
I'm interested in that, and because I've not done theater as such,
Okay.
but I've done TV.
Television, yeah.
And I always say the most hardworking people are the theater people.
Yeah.
But the most rewarded are these cut people, which is the TV people. How does it happen? And how do you feel about it?
It's a mixed response. I'm gonna
Don't
give
be
you.
scared.
No, I'm
Mpho.
not scared.
Don't
I'm
be
not.
scared.
No,
Speak
never,
out,
never,
Mpho.
never. You know me. I'm never
Yeah,
scared.
but today you are shaking.
No, I'm not.
Are you theater or are you for TV?
No, I'm a theater person. But I'll tell you something about
The
television.
fact is, they don't pay you guys well,
No,
but the TV
no.
ones are getting paid well.
It-
You
it
guys work
depends.
harder.
It depends.
Okay,
It
tell us.
depends. When you say theater doesn't pay well, it depends. It depends on productions that they're working on. It
I feel they
depends.
deserve more.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's a 4 weeks to 5 weeks rehearsal, which people are paid on weekly basis, and then it's another 4 weeks run or 3 weeks run, which they are paid on weekly basis. But it's just that the theater money is not consistent like television money. If, for an example, you are in a soap.
Oh, now it makes sense. I think I've
Because-
confused the popularity that comes with TV with money.
No.
You can be in a drama series that will play for 13 weeks, but that doesn't guarantee you income, constant income.
Yeah.
So they are more or less the same.
Yeah,
In
theater
fact,
is 7
theater
weeks.
can actually even be better than a drama series.
Yeah, theater is a 7 weeks kind of work. I mean, it's 4 weeks rehearsal, 3 weeks performances. Then you are done. Then you must find another one. You might stay for another 4 weeks or another year without another proper one in a format. But also, let's look at this. So the challenge with theater is that there is what we call state-owned theaters, right? So the formalized work in most of the time happens in those kind of spaces. And then there's private companies that also create theater work.
It's like you read my mind. The next question was, I was a dreamer. I wanted to go into theatre. And one way or the other, I was always trying to find
Find,
ways of being
yeah.
famous eventually and making a living out of it.
Yeah.
And I kept on saying, but who funds these people? And which is my next question. Where is the money coming from theatre?
So the state, our government inherited about 6 to 7 theaters across. When I'm saying inherited, that's what white people had created before
Yes.
apartheid, right?
And the theatres were working then?
Yeah, but they also
We
created
need to
companies.
acknowledge then?
No, we are acknowledging that. They also created companies within those theaters. So there were people that were full-time employed working in those theaters as actors, as dancers, as musicians, as opera companies in those theaters.
And
when,
now
when
it's
we
gone.
when we took over, the first thing that we dealt with was to deal away with the companies, right? And we're left with the buildings, the institutions. And then there was a policy, whoever designed it or whatever, which then said those things are now going to be called receiving houses. So they do not have prerogative to produce any work, but we can invest money in them as the state, but they can create a platform for people to come and put up work here. And that's when the failure starts.
Yeah, because that's a complication, right?
Yeah. You're putting in 50 million in one theater, but you do not give them money to produce any work. All you are saying is you want to keep staff working, and they must wait for me to come and say, I want to put up a production.
Yes, that's what has happened. I
Yeah.
mean, I've tried.
I mean, that model is.
It's not working. I've tried a lot of theaters. I mean, even trying to do our shows, and you know.
Yeah, you
it's-
must pay for the
yeah,
venue.
you must pay.
That's what
but-
they're doing.
Yeah, but the dates that you want are always taken.
Yeah, so what happens now is that most of these theaters now, the artistic directors and the producers and whoever then decides, you know what, guys, from this 50 million we receive, let's just take 10 and we give the artistic director to put up some work.
Yeah, because I've noticed. Can we start mentioning them? The State Theatre.
Yeah,
I know.
there's
Is
sta-
Parkov's also one of them?
It's State
There's
Theatre. is-
Playhouse.
Yeah. It's,
Cape Town is
it's
what?
Artscape.
Artscape.
Yeah, it's the one Playhouse in Natal,
I
in
counted it
KZN.
already.
We counted it.
Yes.
Now there's Mandela Bay
Mandela
Theatre.
Bay. That's the new one, right?
Yeah, and there used to be Windy Brow.
Windy Brow. You guys
Yes.
killed Windy Brow.
No. You see, that's the whole new world. It was incorporated
But
into
we'll get to
Market
that
Theatre.
one.
Yeah,
That's
and there's
number
Market
5.
Theatre.
This Market Theatre number
That's
6.
Yeah, those are the 6 theatres.
6 theatres.
Yeah.
And 3 are in Gauteng. So you are
State-
basically saying
State
Limpopo
Market
doesn't
and-
exist?
No, Limpopo doesn't have.
You say Northwest doesn't exist?
Limpopo and Northwest doesn't have.
You say Mpumalanga doesn't exist?
Mpumalanga doesn't have.
That's where the problem is. It's
That's-
a serious problem.
It has
And
been
I
a
know
problem
you're one
in
of
the
the
last
people
30 years.
leading theatre in this country.
Yeah, it's been a problem in the last 30 years that not all provinces have got what we call national theatres. But it's the same as in all the provinces, we do not have national dance spaces that are fully funded.
What's your role in this whole thing? Because I know you've been appointed to deal with either theatres or something. We need to get there so that I start interrogating you about these things. And I'm going to say them or question them from a layman's, ignorant kind of person, because I'm not too much into the space.
Okay.
But we do have children that want to be in the space.
Yeah, and I think it's a very important space for them to start at.
Yes.
Because it helps them to be themselves than what television can do to them in a short space of time. Because television influence character and personalities, and they become famous and they become well-known people, and that changes their perspective of life in so many ways. But theater, I think, grounds them in a way or the other. And I will start it a little bit. So the country has been divided when it comes to this theater story part of it. There's always been state-owned theaters, and there's always been an alternative. So in the past, you haven't.
As you're explaining,
Yeah.
are you one of the people that are leading at the moment currently?
Supposedly, I'm in a committee now, but I wanna put perspective to you on how I come in.
Okay.
you know, into the theater space. I mean, growing up in it, I mean, from being usher, actor, and all of that, and start getting involved in the movement of it. You know, first I started being a member of what was called the National Association of Community Theatre Groups in South Africa. That's just before 1994. And we had a huge conference in one in Limpopo and one in Bloemfontein before 1994. And at that time, what we were looking at, so what will happen post-apartheid in terms of theatre? Literally looking at readdressing the past imbalances of the country, because majority of the practitioners are in the townships. And only the state owns these 6 big theaters. And these 6 big theaters are in towns, right? So if you talk about infrastructure, for an example, 30 years later, we haven't started talking about readdressing in infrastructure inequality. Arnadi Theatre Kodikasi, you know, there's only 2 theaters built in South Africa post-apartheid, 30 years
I
later.
know the Eastland.
No, it's one in Soweto.
Soweto Theatre.
Soweto Theatre, which is a city-owned theatre, and one in...
Eastern Cape?
No. The one in Benoni.
Oh yes, the Dumisani.
Yeah, the new
Yes,
theatre.
Yes.
So over the last 30 years, we left the townships as they are in terms of recreation and in terms of the arts. We haven't built any community center. We haven't built any theatre in the townships.
Are you guys winning? Because I already raised a concern.
No, we're not winning.
Yes, because I already raised a concern from where I'm sitting, and it might offend others, but I feel like our theaters are just not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They can do better.
No, I think it's the model. It's the model. And I'll tell you something about that model. You know, people always say we do not have access to those theaters. We do not have...
I'm one of those.
Yeah, but I can
And
tell
I've
you...
got letters to back it up.
Yeah, but I can tell you one of the reasons that why I'm saying is that model that they initiated for them, which is not working. If you're giving an institution, let's say like, let's say market or state, if you're giving them 50 million rand to maintain to run the place per se,
And including salaries.
yeah, and salaries and all of that, you are literally killing the place itself, because they will not have money to produce work. So sometimes they depend on who comes first to book the venue and who will pay whatever that they're looking at. And in most of the time, majority of people are unable to can do that.
Are they getting the same money?
No, they are not. It depends on how big the theatre is and the number of employees and all of that. Yeah.
And the biggest you would say is
The
state
biggest
theatre.
is state, and I think followed by Artscape is also big. Yeah.
And when I look at them, and it might be from an ignorant perspective, I see Artscape being the most active, maybe followed by State Theatre and then Playhouse.
No, you see, in terms of how active each one of them are, it's every theatre is in its own league.
Okay.
And
And then where does Joburg Theatre fall into this?
Those
way?
are city theatres,
Okay.
which is a beautiful model that you could find in any metropolitan kind of a place, because they own 3 theatres and their theatres are functional, you know, as a city, you know. So
Is Market under them?
no.
I know
Market
Soweto is under
state,
them.
and
I know
Roodepoort and the
Oh,
Civic.
Roodepoort as well.
Yeah, and the
But that
Civic.
one is tiny.
Yeah. You see, for me, if we were to review the entire model of the big theatres, we will look at how do we create a model of Hollywood, right? And we take one of the 2, out of the 6, we take 1 or 2 of these theatres as one of our biggest Hollywood markets, where production can play for 6 months or 7 months or 8 months. But you make the investment much more bigger into those theatres for them to be able to put up productions for a longer time. But also you create access to become much more stricter, so that anyone who ends up at the market or ends up at the state theatre, they must have been through other processes where they performed and failed and did whatever. You don't just go to Broadway.
What do they call it? Broadway.
Yeah, you
Like
don't just
Broadway.
go to Broadway,
Yes.
you know.
Because Broadway, once you've been
To Broadway is the
you're
highest.
yes.
Yeah, but we don't have the highest.
Which is why sometimes when I look at people like Somizi, I give them so much respect
Because they
they've
performed
been
in
to
Broadway.
Yes.
Exactly.
If
But-
you have not been to Broadway,
No, but Mpho will never be there. But we don't have that. So, but I think in remodeling, you will have to remodel the South African theatre landscape with that kind of thinking, which is you need huge
But who has to
investment.
do it?
We will have to do it ourselves.
Who's we?
Um,
Me, you?
Me, you.
But they don't listen to us.
You
Don't
know,
you think that's where the politics come in? And yeah, you guys are scared to speak about these things. And
No, we're
I will
not
address
scared.
them because, you know,
We're not
you,
scared,
you choose politicians based on their parties, right? But you forget that it must be somebody that understands the arts as well. Because how is that going to be influenced in parliament?
And I hear you.
You're
I'm trying
scared.
to think.
You are worried about your job.
No, I
Take
don't have a
breather,
job.
Take a breather and then
I
let's
don't.
continue
No,
about
no,
this.
no, 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 no.
Because
Arthur,
I'm saying,
but let's
who's going to
clarify this
change
part
it?
first.
Yeah,
let's
but
clarify
I can
this
see
part.
you are scared to
no,
talk
no,
about
No, no, no,
it's your career, it's our children's career.
I want to
Let's
give you
talk.
the right answers.
Okay,
You
give me
know,
right
and
answers.
because I don't want to lie to you. I want to
Yes.
be as honest and as open
honest.
as I could be.
Be
You know,
honest.
that's why I'm taking
Why
time
is theatre
thinking through.
dying?
No, theatre at the moment is not dying per se.
Why is it struggling?
I'm thinking it's not being given the value that is supposed to be given. But also I think in terms of how it's been led, it has become more...
Led by who?
No. It has become more like work for people who are
Led
supposed
by
to be...
who?
No, supposed to be led by us.
Us under who? There's still a politician somewhere at the end of this.
You see, that's a challenge because at the moment I'm sitting on a committee appointed
Yeah,
or,
no, you
or
must respect
elected.
that job. Hence, I warned you earlier on that please protect that job.
Which job? It's not a job for me. I don't need it.
Okay.
I'm there to contribute what I can contribute.
Okay.
You know, I mean, we'll have a frank talk, me and you. I'm sitting at a position where my age allows me to say whatever that I want to say.
Yes.
Because I have nothing to...
As long as we don't offend people, because we're not mentioning names.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
fine.
No, I'm going to talk about myself and the
Yes.
work and the space I'm involved in. But I'm sitting at a position where I have nothing to lose anymore. I think I've lost enough in life.
Yeah, me too. We only suffer because we speak the truth. And the truth gets into trouble. The thing is, we love the arts. This is the only thing we can do. This is the only thing I've done apart from playing football. This is the only other thing I've ever done. You know, I'm going to die in this industry. So hence, I do researches about everything in my industry. And it's a cause for concern because when I grew up, I was looking forward to being in those theaters. And, you know, like I said, I was a dreamer.
Yeah.
And they're still happening overseas, by the way. They're still huge.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I love the arts.
I love the arts.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yes, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Please break it down so that
Yeah, I'm
somebody
not sure
out there understands, so that they don't think you hate the arts, but it's how the arts
Yeah, you see,
treat you.
Yeah, if I'm in a position where I do a lot of training for young people and workshops and all of that, and I wish I could have the courage to encourage them to be in the industry, and I find it very difficult because how the industry spills majority of the practitioners over a period of time, it's for me, I always feel the young talents and the young creatives wish to be protected than to go through the journeys that we've went through. And I'm not seeing ourselves being in a position of control to be able to do that at the moment. And that worries me a lot. And that's why I'm very skeptical in loving the arts in the nature of how the arts have become now.
I know you're running away from the fact that I keep on taking this issue back to the politician. You look at countries like Spain. How does Spain survive? They don't have the minerals that you have. They don't have the minerals that you have. It's through the arts, through sports. You look at Barcelona, you look at Madrid, you look at the movies, it's the arts. They're a big resource for a country. And me and you are sitting here watching the arts die in our country, saying we hate the arts. I have the same perception as you, by the way, where I say the arts are not treating us well.
No,
but
they're
I'm
not.
saying, can we not let the arts die? Dear politician, please stand up. because you are the one who's got the powers to make the change.
You see, that's for me. I think I'm not sure if we need the politician. That's my other challenge about it.
Let's dwell into this soft power issue because
Right.
I still believe this country was liberated through
Through
the
that,
arts.
definitely.
And me and you are not going to sit here and not want to acknowledge that power. There were voices. There were people like Miriam
Miriam
Makeba,
Makeba,
Brahu,
yeah.
Dade Jonas Gwangwa. And
Yeah.
luckily I've interviewed them. I had a show called Wall of Fame.
Yeah.
And the stories they told me, I was looking for the tapes. The stories they told me about how their music liberated this country. We
Yeah.
cannot just
No, I think we must agree that the arts made a big contribution, and that's the soft power I'm talking about. That if you look at all the pillars of the struggle, economic, armed struggle, international sanctions, and all the mass mobilization, you will realize that at the end of all of that, there was just this soft power of the arts used as a voice, as a weapon to be able to challenge the status quo.
then why would the politician not acknowledge that?
It's
Why
not
would the
about
politician-
acknowledging it.
Okay.
As I said, it's about fearing it. They know the power of it. They know what the arts can do. They
Then
know.
stay away from the arts then.
No. It's not about staying away from them. You see, can I tell you an interesting thing
Yes.
that you won't believe? If you look at the constitution of the country, and there's a national mandate, right? So at national level, you will have Department of Arts and Culture, right? At provincial level, you'll have Provincial Department of Arts and Culture. And then you have Arts and Culture Council. At national, you have National Arts Council. Those are mandates for the arts given at levels of government. Do you know that local government does not have mandate to do the arts?
And you're still the chairperson of the Gauteng
Provincial.
Arts Culture.
Yes, provincial.
Okay.
But local governments do not have local arts councils because it's not within their mandate and scope for the arts.
But then what's your role as the chairperson?
no.
in Gauteng?
The role is to.
So you can't communicate
No, it's the language that we haven't started talking about in the industry. You see, the challenge with this industry of ours is that we're not talking about key fundamental issues that are affecting the sector. In most of the time, we become very personal, blah, blah issues and all of those things. One of the things that we need to do now as practitioners in this country and creatives is to start lobbying for a constitutional change so that local government can have mandate to do the arts, so that in the communities they could have budgets and be able to budget at local level,
So
at
are
the
you saying,
IDPs.
looking at Joburg, me and you live in Joburg, right?
Sure.
We see budgets being spent. There's things like Arts Alive, all those things. So where do those fall in?
So the Metro, right, created a unit for arts and culture, the Metro, right?
Yes.
Because the Metro has got the budget to can do that. But in other areas, you will find the arts and culture hidden within either community development or something else. But
We are also in Joburg under community development.
exactly. So, but they managed to create a unit because they can budget for it. But as a metro, right? But other localities somewhere else, they will not have the same budget as the metro that we have, which we are most
Let's say
fortunate or lucky.
if you were to be given an opportunity to be the politician,
Yeah.
how would you help restructure this? I would call it a mess at the moment.
That's an interesting one. First of all, I
Because
will.
I don't want me and you to
Yeah.
sit here
No.
and point fingers.
No,
I'm not an expert in those kind of policy changes,
Yeah.
but you know how much I know about these things.
Yeah.
And we're still going to go to the role you played in the formation of CIFSA so that people understand the authority that you have in speaking about certain things. Because somebody might say, he's just a bitter theater person.
No. I think if I were to be given an opportunity, I think the first part that I will do is to redefine the role of arts and culture in the society. Make make everyone realize that at the core of, or at the center of this society and the development of it, arts and culture is central to everyone else. And I'll tell you why. In the last 30 years, we focused so much in building houses, building mortar and bricks, building hospitals, building whatever. But one of the other things we forgot was to build a man who will live in this new country we're trying to build. And one of the other things that you will realize is that psychological power is very important. The reason we never focused in building that man is that we never helped that man to realize, to accept, realize, and to start being a new man who will live in these new houses that we're building for them. And one of the things we are suffering at the moment is that that old person that we never looked at how to free them psychologically from the past into the present, using arts and culture as a tool, as a weapon, is that every time that man gets angry, burns the house that you built it for him.
So in terms of policy, how would you break that down?
I will review the entire policies, because the majority of the policies that Department of Arts and Culture have are actually taken from the past during apartheid. They actually change dates and try to reformat them. That's why people are talking about the copyright law of 19 Mamang, and then they are saying the revised what. You need to develop new laws for a new society. We shouldn't be afraid. If we need to review those policies, we should not review them by changing words. We should review them by looking at what is needed at present. So one of the things, if I were to be given an opportunity, is I would look at the entire policies that are governing this particular institution. And one of the first things that I will sort out is to deal with all these policies to be present today and to mean today. And one of the things that they need to do is to readdress the past imbalances as the core function that we need to focus on. In the last 30 years, we never addressed anything.
But now you're in the zone sounding like a politician, and that's how they sound. You've been in meetings.
No.
You've been in meetings.
Art is
That's
beyond,
how they sound. They give you hope.
No, art is
I'm
is beyond politics. I think I'm much more beyond politics.
Okay.
I'm literally above politicians when it comes to me understanding the world that a man must live in.
Then how do you fuse the two in order to move forward? Because I'm trying to get you to end up not saying, I hate the arts.
No,
Because
I'm
me
saying
and you are angry
I'm
at
not
the
sure
moment.
if I'll be able to say I love the arts, because of the present and what the arts does, which I'm unable to cancel it. But what I want you to understand is that there are two things in the creative industry. There's what we call a performer, and there's what we call an artist. What has happened over a period of time in the last 30 years is that we have been not so much able to produce artists. We have been able to train performers. And the role of the performers is to interpret what artists create. But the artists are the ones who've got what we call a third eye in terms of the arts, who are visionaries, who can see deeper than what anyone can see, who can be able to have an understanding of the world in its own. And those are the people that we believe they're above politicians and above everybody else. And those are the voices we need now in the creative industry. We don't need performers anymore. We need those kind of voices. People who will create songs that are more meaningful, people who will create shows that are more meaningful. I mean, I was giving somebody an example to say, what kind of a people in a country are we that you cry and you say, this country has got a big problem about drugs and everything else, but somebody else invests 80 million to do a television program with over 200 episodes about drugs. So I nearly said how fucked up are we? Sorry.
Don't worry, people have said things here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that if you really want to have an understanding of our role, the problem is we can't become worshippers. And that is the challenge. We've become worshippers because we want to be associated. We become worshippers of politicians or politics or whatever because we want to be identified with. You know, there is no, and this one I'll say it and I'll say it and I'll say it, right? A t-shirt wearing artist, and I mean an artist who's wearing a t-shirt, right, is the biggest scam that has ever happened to an artist.
Break it down. Make me understand.
An artist is it's a pulse, it's a voice of a society. And that society that artists serve is not divided in politics.
Oh, yes.
And it's not associated in politics. So the appeal of that voice is general to the society at large. Once that artist wears a t-shirt, then he's starting to divide the people they're supposed to appeal to.
I want
Then
you
they-
to say it because
Then they become partisan.
I like your
Then-
bravery because I've been that artist. Hence, I wanted you to, hence I said, please repeat. Because certain things we don't realize as artists, the amount of power. Till you create that change, then you realize the kind of power you had.
Yeah, like any other industry, Mr. Mafokate, like any other industry, I also feel strongly that the creative industry has been one of the worst infiltrated industry by so many other people who might not even belong in the industry itself.
How would you educate the artist?
You can't educate an artist. Artists are born. They must have what it takes. They must have it within them. And unless they go to study to nurture their talent further and all of that. But artists are born because the power that they possess in a society is that of a prophet more than anything else.
And we take like time to realize the kind of power we have. And it's up to people like you to sit here and say, dear artist, you are very powerful. Dear artist, make sure you advance the community through 1, 2, 3. Dear artist, you are not here by mistake. You've got a gift. Use that gift. And at the moment, dear artist is suffering because dear artist doesn't believe in themselves.
Yeah, you see, you're using a right word. They've got a gift. See, the question is, what is that gift? Are they aware of that gift? So the gift is, can they sing? So can they use music and songs to be able to talk what the gift is in them?
They can use film, they can use fashion.
There's lots.
They can use
There's a lot they use.
acting.
There's a lot, yeah. But the point which you are mentioning, which is the most important fact, is they have a gift. And what is that gift?
Art, they can draw.
And they can use that to communicate, to mobilize, to share their spirit. There's a lot that artists are meant to do.
Unfortunately, life forces the artist and the politician to work together. I need the synergy there.
It doesn't force them to work together. I think what has happened in the last 30 years is the biggest flaw that we have accepted, that the politician must lead us.
Do you vote
Yeah, I vote every year.
because you believe in the politician?
No, I believe in the country must change.
Yes.
Not in the politics.
Through a politician.
That becomes the conduit, becomes the voice that I will support to do that. Yeah. But on the other side, through my work, I need to be able to write theater plays that talks to what I believe in.
What do you think made you be appointed to be the chairperson of the Gauteng Arts Council?
I think it's the experience over the years in understanding how government functions, but also understanding the industry itself, but also the experience of serving. That's the other part. That one of the things that we did when early 1994 was to dedicate much of our time to serve as part of assisting government to understand the industry itself. So I started very young. I mean, we were the first people to be in Gauteng Arts and Culture Council back then, post-1994.
So you've been through this arts council. You know all this.
Yeah, I was there then for 5 years, and then I was out. And then I went to National Arts Council first time then, and then I was out.
So you've been NAC as well?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I've served the National Arts Council twice as a panelist. I've served the Gauteng Arts Culture Council. This is my second term. I served Grahamstown Arts Festival as a deputy chairperson for almost 10 years during many time. I sat on the Windybrow Council. I served where I could over the years.
Hey, you know, this is what breaks my heart. If a person has served so much and they then say, I hate the arts. Because this conversation took a turn somewhere.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it
yeah,
became, I hate the arts. And I feel your pain because I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
but I just can't break it down to somebody that's listening to us so that they understand where the pain comes from. Because we know the contribution we've made for the arts.
No. More than the pain, for me, I think beyond the pain. I think for me is, I do a lot of workshops, like I told you, theater workshops, you know, I do arts administration workshops. I go and talk about policies and all of those things. I wish I could encourage young people to join and be in the arts. But with the present status quo, I am not sure if I should lead them towards that.
Would you say crime also has an effect? Because you were talking about investing a lot of money in that theater that we would look at as Broadway.
Yeah.
But we are scared to go to theaters.
No, we're
because
not.
of the level of crime in the country. As
No, we're not scared.
We're not scared.
No.
Okay.
Well,
So we will go.
Arthur,
So
can
we
I
just
tell
need
you,
money.
Bon, can I tell you something? E re ba re go dlala,
Chiefs and pirates.
bile ke a bona ya diski ka re. A re ba re go dlala, a re for example ya Moretele Park, where it's situated in Mamelodi in a corner, blah 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 blah.
People still
But
go.
you know when it's Moretele Park, go a dlala till in the morning. Crime or no crime does not become your thought. You don't even thinking about it, but you are going there because why? There's a fulfillment that you get when you go there. So the biggest challenge that our theater spaces are now faced with, it's what I call migration of towns. So Tropo, for example, Pretoria town has migrated to Pretoria East, right? So what is being left there as town, right? It's at the lowest of the poorer, but it's no longer in the capital as it's supposed to be. That theater building is then left in that kind of a space. But majority of middle class, young people, the know-how, the rich,
East.
and the what, they go to East. They wouldn't go to town because in terms of a class, you see, that's the problem that
But wait. If there's no crime and they want to see that show, they should still go.
Yes, no. I'm saying, I'm just trying to give you an example that those places do not look like the most popular places unless they are doing a show that is attractive for us to go there, right? Because the town itself is no longer there. It's only the building that has been left, but it has migrated to another area. So
No, but if you
if
go-
you go to Market Theatre, right? Newtown, as what was supposed to have become the Hollywood of South Africa with radio stations and every cultural thing there, jazz places and everything being in Newtown, it all migrated to Maboni. But I'm just giving you an example. So that became like the image or the shadow of what a cultural precinct used
But you
to
know
be.
what's the funniest thing?
Yeah.
And Maboning is private, and you are government. So you're leaving government and its resources. You're going to private facilities.
It's a changing mindset of a society, man. You know, one thing about this,
Because even if you look at you spoke about the East, that arena, the big arena,
Yes.
is now in the East, and it's not government owned.
no, it's private.
So it then becomes public versus private.
You see,
Which one works for the arts?
That's the thing. That the competition of you making that space work becomes into the end product that you are putting up. So if that place becomes the Hollywood, the one I'm talking about, if you're putting huge investment in it, if they're able to do big shows bigger than the arena itself, then that place will remain functional. But if you're putting less investment and the town has migrated and everyone is following the new town, then the investment is going down there. Then those people are going to continue putting up big shows and big productions, and you will not be able to attract as much as you would attract even in comparison to what is happening.
You've written a beautiful theatre plays. You won awards. Tell us about those.
I've never won an award.
Okay.
And which is something interesting about my life, which I find very interesting, that the Johannesburg Civic Theatre with the Joburg City, whatever, decided to honor me and do a star for me at the Soweto Theatre.
So you were honored,
I was honored.
not won an
No, I've never, my whole life, won an award.
Wow.
But something interesting about me, which I find fascinating, is being given an honor with a star on a wall that will stay there for a lifetime.
But sometimes that happens, and it's not like you were not good.
No,
I
no.
look at.
I was not part of the people that they would like to associate with.
Yes, I'm one of those souls. I understand your story. But you look at football in the era of Messi and Ronaldo. They were very good players, but they just couldn't surpass the standard of those two because of their rivalry. Just got people clued on.
Yeah.
Yes. So sometimes it's a coincidence that you are not awarded, but sometimes
Not coincidence.
Sometimes it's yes.
No, it's not coincident. It's that.
Me, I feel like I affected the system.
No, it's the journey you travel if you remain truthful to yourself.
Yes, that's why I say for me, it
Because
was
they-
exactly what you're saying.
They won't honor you because they can't make you great. Because things that you are saying is not what they want to hear. So they are unable to can give you that. I've been nominated a few times there and there, but I knew I was not going to win. But it helps them to say, at least Mpho was also nominated.
So have you ever had statements like I had? Remember with me, I'm one of those people that invaded the awards offices, the governing body of the record industry during a meeting. I'm one of those people that said, never go to those awards. So for me, I can justify, I used to say, an artist that wins those awards doesn't deserve, doesn't do whatever, those awards are crap and whatever. You know, as you grow up, you know, you say too many things because of the anger, but sometimes you are truthful to yourself like
Yeah,
this.
yeah, you must
Are
be.
you one of those people that have said such statements?
No, I will never. And I will actually encourage
Then
those
why
that
would
are-
they target you?
No, they're not targeting me. I will not be, they will not want to be identified with me. So
Why?
I will not be nominated and be able to win. Because I've never been a worshipper. I've always stayed truthful to what I think I'm here for.
Your journey through SIFSA, why were you part of the
Founding.
founding people? Because I was in the test team.
Yes.
That led to you guys being there, and then you guys continued, and some of us had to.
No, I was in the original team with you.
Oh, the one year.
The Yvonne Chaka.
Oh yes.
Yes.
And then you continued. I pulled back, and then why are you no more in the space?
I think the concept and the idea was brilliant, originally for me, to say you need to establish an industry body that will advocate and lead the sector.
By the way, SIFSA stands for the
Cultural and Creative Industry Federation of South Africa. And for me, I think that was the most interesting thing that happened at a particular era of Jacob Zuma. I mean, I remember I attended the meeting in Sandton. The meeting led to the appointment of the 34 of us. We were part of the 34. Yes. And I became part of the coordinating team that led to the coordination of the provincial meetings, and that led to the actual conference itself, building the program, everything, and leading to the main big conference in Bloemfontein. And I'll tell you something about SIFSA that I had really appreciated the time. CIFS as a concept was not to create a lobby organization, nothing about lobbying. It was about creating an organization that could be established through an act of parliament, like a body like SASCOC. A body in the arts that will have the arts organized in various councils, registered with that particular body. Anyone who's supposed to give money to the arts, that money will go into that particular body. That body will distribute the money to the councils. The councils will then account back to the main body. You see, that's how big the actual vision of what CIFSA
Was
is supposed to be.
Yes.
I remember me, Tate Kitsutole and Tlantla Sibisi and Mami Von, and I think with Mandla Maseko. I remember the 5 of us going to Little House to go and say, we've been mandated as part of this task team to establish this particular body, but we would like to present to you as the movement that we don't want this body to become a lobby body. We want this body to be a formalized institution which is formulated with an act that should be passed by parliament, so that over the years, when anyone comes, right, they cannot just do as they please in the industry, because this body would have been established by an act of parliament. We never achieved that. When we went to Bloemfontein, as chaotic as how things
Yeah, it was
became,
chaotic, eh?
yeah, as how things became, we then handed over an unfinished business to an industry, right? An industry that started having an interpretation that everybody else liked, because it meant nothing being a lobby group.
Wouldn't you say then they might have used NAC as an excuse? How would CIFSA have been existence when there was NAC? And
No.
luckily you've been part of NAC.
Yeah, sure.
You are part of the build-up of
Sure.
CIFSA. So
You see, the funding agencies have to be there, right? Besides that, in sport, money goes through SASCOC. The funding agencies will be there. What would have happened if CIFSA became what it was supposed to have become? You would have brought all those funding agencies together to create a creative industry fund organization.
meaning NAC was supposed to collapse as well.
Not collapsing them, but you putting NAVF, you putting NAC together, you putting all of those, you creating this fund organization that will then be linked directly to this big body. And so one thing that this industry never had is that we never had a business entrepreneurial attitude. You could be able to create a funding unit within that particular CIFSA itself, which it was just another level. But you wouldn't have wanted to collapse the NAC and whatever, but you could have brought them together to create a creative industry fund, like you would have with business. You know, business have got, what is this one where they consult with every time there's a business
Like
matter.
BBC, for an example, Black Business.
Black Business
yes,
Council.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. You would have created one of those in the creative industry. Yeah.
Okay. Would you say the current minister is on the right track? He's collapsed most of those existing structures. He's trying to rebuild them. And I'm talking about CIFSA structures, for example. He's trying to say, let's attempt again to do the SASCOC model. Are you in support?
So your first question is the current minister in track?
Yes.
On track?
Yes.
I will be lying if I understand what the current minister is wanting to create. I'll be lying. I think I'm still observant. I haven't met him. I've heard him speak, but I haven't heard a vision for the creative industry. I can hear talks about forming this, forming that, doing that. That for me is not the vision of an industry. I'm still waiting to hear him speak.
You want to see a document?
No, I want to hear him talk about an industry and how he sees it as an industry. And I'll tell you why as an industry. This is one sector where people apply to get few thousands and people assume that is an industry model. It's not. we need to be talking billions in this industry. That's why I'm talking to you about a Hollywood model. That's why I'm talking to you about how we could transform our theaters to become what they're supposed to become, right? The investment in this particular, whatever sector or whatever that it is that we're calling it, it's so low that we're looking, and we have accepted to look at ourselves so low. And I haven't heard anyone talking about us really in a billionaire kind of an industry with a model of a Hollywood type per se yet. Nothing.
It's a pity we're running out of time, and I think we need to have a second session. And because I feel like we didn't even go deep in who Mpho Molepo is, we ended up going to the politics of the industry. And I'll go to the fun stuff now. You know, as a family person, what kind of dad are you?
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, no,
I'm
it's
not,
interesting because I'm looking at you. I've never seen your tattoos.
you know, I've got tattoos, but my tattoos are very interesting because it's a story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a very interesting father, so to say. I've got kids. Some are my friends because I grew up with them. I had kids at very early age, and I grew up with them. And yeah, I have a beautiful relationship with my children. If my daughter was to call me here, one of them, you'll laugh because she's gonna go, Chomi.
Hey, nice. That's good. Okay, Chomi. I'm going to call you Chomi.
I'm that father to that level.
And the tattoos, because you are a dad, but Kibonadi tattoo.
Yeah, my
I've
tattoos-
never seen them before. You
Yeah,
always.
not
in long-
not so many people have
Yeah.
seen it. I think you will be the first to expose them.
Yeah.
A very interesting story. So in this hand, it's everyone.
It's
in
names, ne? I
It's
see
names.
names.
It's names of people. In this hand is everyone in my closest family that has passed away.
This side.
This side,
And the other side.
the living ones, and
Wow.
my kids.
So you're going to.
I travel with them.
Oh, nice.
It's an aura I carry with myself all the time, and
That's why you are fearless.
yeah, actually, I force no friend, I fear no fool.
Wow. So I could sense it.
Yes, so it's what comes in my mind all the time. If I'm supposed to do anything, who am I representing? And I remember they are here with me, so I must represent them well.
Wow. If you were to be invited by the minister, what would be your first topic?
I think if I were to be invited by the minister, I would like to have a flip chart and an overhead projector, and I present to him the industry landscape. That will take a day. It's a workshop. I don't think I will have a meeting with him. I would like to present to him the industry with the people around him, so that maybe we have the same perspective of what is going on the ground. You know, I want to share with them. More than anything, I don't think I want to go to a meeting to try and resolve anything. I think I want to go into a workshop with them to try and see if do they really share the same perspective and the issues that are on the ground, so that when they reprogram and do programming, then they are able to start addressing key fundamental issues that are affecting the industry. So if that opportunity ever happens, it will last us a day together in one room. Yeah.
And if he only gives you 2 hours, would you accept?
That's why I've never wanted to have a meeting with any politician my whole life. I've never. Because I don't think my interest is within trying to educate them. I think they are already within a framework where they are being told or where they understand whatever. But we will meet through work. You know, I mean, I had an opportunity some years ago during Natim Teto's time that I was commissioned to write a new policy in theatre and dance, which we...
What's happening with that policy?
No, finally it's been approved by cabinet.
But not implemented.
You see, that's the interesting part, that the new minister who arrived, no one inside actually told him. If they told him, then we should have went back to that policy. The policy has been approved by a cabinet, signed off during the previous minister's term.
It's for theatre and dance, right?
It's for theatre and dance in the country. The new vision on how we should be able to look at it and run it. And at the moment, I mean, we have a new committee that has been established for theatre. I'm happy that I'm part of that new committee under the new minister. And I've raised this matter with the new committee, and I'm happy that few members in that committee were part of the final conference that endorsed the policy itself. So I think we will start moving our discussion towards the policy. But it's a cabinet matter. It's a matter of us going to the portfolio committee on arts and culture to say, where is this document? What is happening with it? Can we start costing it? Can we start looking at the new theatre model and dance in the country? Like I told you, there is no dance studio in the country that has been built by government. So if you're talking about the young people dancing and everything else, where are they going to dance if we don't have dance studios in the townships? Where are going to do their theatres if we do not have theatres in the townships?
It's
So
actually
there's just,
sad.
yeah.
I mean, that you're mentioning that we have a dance studio. We never got funded. We never got anything. You know, I had to build those things out of the love of the industry. You know, we have a dance studio here in Midrand. We've got studios. We've got platforms
Yeah.
where we're saying to the youth of the surrounding areas, come on weekends and just have fun. You never know what might happen.
Yeah, you see, it's very few people who think about that, you know, and we need to put value towards that, because there are quite a lot of few private studios that are run by private people. But I know with the provincial government of Gauteng some years ago, they really invested in Soweto, into, you know, few halls, converting them into dance studios and all of that. But you could imagine if we have that as a model for a country, where we are looking at infrastructure development within the arts itself, where we are saying, let's invest money in building arts studios, let's invest money in building theaters in the townships, let's invest money in creating platforms for young people in the townships. The country will be totally different. At the moment, there's nothing that young people are doing in the communities. It's either they go play soccer, you know, we no longer have a lot of stuff where they could actually go to. No art centers, nothing.
Thanks, Mpho Molepo. It was great being with you, and I feel like Resaba class second half.
No stress.
Ne?
Yeah.
Please, I'm begging you. We need to find time again.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there are unfinished stories that we need to still.
Actual fact, you first platform I've ever agreed to go and talk to. Thank you.
Can you say your last words? Maybe word of advice, maybe some message to the minister, maybe a message to all arts practitioners. Just say your last words. I normally close the show, but you are a well-spoken somebody that's passionate, so you might say the last words.
No, I think my last word is just for everyone who's involved in the creative industry to think about what kind of an industry we want and looking for, but also thinking about us as not beneficiaries, but the generation and our children in the same sector. What will they get? What would we have left us? What is it that we are going to leave for them?
Wow. Great words from Mpho Molepo, Mpho, and I wish we have another conversation with him. And I like most of the things he said about the power that we have as artists. And I keep on referring to the politician as the middle person between the artist and the community. And he says, no, we can surpass the politician and be on the other side to talk to the community. And I'm saying, the three of us, the community, the politician, and the artist, we can come together and make this happen. Thank you, Mpho Molepo.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan.